Monday, 11:34 a.m. You just sent the report. 3 weeks of work. 30 minutes later, someone else is presenting it. In a meeting you weren't invited to. They're getting the credit. And in that second, you learn the rule nobody explicitly teaches. If they do and see you do it, it didn't happen. You're not failing because your work isn't good. You're failing because your work is invisible. And invisible work doesn't get promoted. It gets used. Used to make someone else look good. Used to keep operations running. Used to fill the gap between what leadership promises and what actually gets delivered. But it doesn't put your name on the list when they're deciding who moves up. And in a moment, I'm going to show you the exact rooms where your career is being decided without you. Because the work happens at your desk. The decisions happen somewhere else. There's a belief you're operating under. That quality creates opportunity. That if you just deliver excellent results consistently, someone will notice. Someone will advocate. Someone will pull you into the conversation. But that's not how it works. Because the people making decisions aren't reading your reports. They're in meetings. And the meetings they're in are populated by people who know how to be in meetings. Not people who know how to do the work. Doing the work and being seen doing the work are two completely different skills. And only one of them promotes. 6 months ago, promotion cycle. You delivered 3 major projects, all on time, all under budget, all generating measurable impact. And someone else got promoted. Someone who delivered 1 project, late, over budget, with half the impact. And you looked at that and thought it was politics. Thought it was unfair. And it was unfair, but it wasn't random. It was predictable. Because that person was visible. They updated leadership weekly. They presented at town halls. They CC'd executives. They made sure their name was attached to everything, even the parts they didn't do. You optimized for results. They optimized for recognition, and recognition won. Now think, when was the last time someone 2 levels above you saw you actually work? Because if the answer is never, you're not on their radar. You're in their blind spot. Let me show you what's happening. You work at your desk, heads down, focused, producing, and that productivity is real. It generates value. But value generation and visibility are not the same thing. Value stays in the output, a spreadsheet, a document, a fixed problem. And those outputs get consumed by the system. They disappear into workflows, into someone else's presentation, into the background of normalcy. And your name doesn't follow them. You created the value. The system absorbed it. And the system doesn't give credit to what it can't see. Now look at what the person who got promoted was doing while you were working. They weren't producing more. They were appearing more. Appearing in leadership meetings. Just to give an update. Appearing in cross-functional syncs. To align on strategy. Appearing in executive forums. To share insights. And every appearance created a data point. A mental bookmark. A reference. And when decision time came, they had 100 of those bookmarks. You had 0. You were too busy working to build the presence that makes work matter. Thursday, 6:47 p.m., you're still at your desk, finishing something that should have been done hours ago. But there were interruptions, questions, fires to put out. And now you're catching up. While the person who got promoted left at 5, not because they're lazy, because they protected their time. They said no to the interruptions, delegated the fires, and used the hours you spent working to be visible to send strategic emails, to grab coffee with the right people, to be seen working on the right things by the right audience. You're working harder. They're working smarter. And smarter means visible. There's a meeting that happens every quarter. Budget planning, headcount decisions, promotion recommendations. And your manager is in that room, representing their team. And when your name comes up, they have to make a case, not based on your actual work, based on what leadership knows about your work. And what does leadership know? Only what they've seen. And if they haven't seen you, your manager is making a case from memory, from vague impressions, from I think they did something good last quarter. Your manager can't sell what leadership can't see, and you made yourself invisible. This seems small, but the cost compounds faster than you realize. Here's what they're not telling you. The new promotion criteria isn't merit. It's narrative. Can you tell a story about your impact? Can you connect your work to business outcomes in a sentence? Can you make leadership remember you when you're not in the room? Because the person who got promoted can. They practiced. They refined it. They tested it in smaller settings. And when it mattered, they delivered it with confidence. You can't do that. Not because you lack the skill, because you never practiced, because you thought the work was enough. Work isn't enough. Work plus story is enough, and you only have half. 18 months in the same role. You've delivered more than anyone on your team, measurably more. Your manager knows it, your peers know it, but leadership doesn't, because leadership doesn't measure your output directly. They measure your manager's output, and your manager's output is reported in meetings you're not in, using slides you didn't make, with credit that's distributed based on who was in the room when the work was discussed. And you weren't there, so your name isn't on the credit list. You're generating output that's being repackaged as someone else's leadership. Now look at who's actually in those rooms. Did they get there by working harder than you? No. Did they get there by producing more than you? No. They got there by making their work visible early, by volunteering to present, by asking to join meetings above their level, by sending recaps to people who weren't even involved. And every time they did that, they created the impression of strategic thinking, of initiative, of leadership potential. They didn't wait to be invited to the table. They made the table need them. Friday, 2:15 p.m. All hands meeting. CEO is talking about the company's wins this quarter. And they mention a project, your project, the one you led, but they don't mention your name. They mention the VP, and the VP thanks their team, broadly, no names. And you sit there thinking someone will correct it. Someone will say your name, but nobody does, because nobody in that room knows it was you. They just know it got done, and it got done doesn't attach to faces. It attaches to whoever was visible when the results came in. You did the work. Leadership saw the VP, and the VP got the credit. That's not an accident. That's the system working exactly as designed. The problem isn't this moment. It's that you've been training leadership to not see you for years. There's a phrase your manager said last review. You're doing great work. Keep it up. And you took that as encouragement, as validation. But it wasn't. It was dismissal. Because keep it up means stay exactly where you are doing exactly what you're redoing. It's not an invitation to grow. It's a request to maintain. And maintaining doesn't get you promoted. Being visible in new contexts gets you promoted. Keep it up is what they say to people they not considering for the next level. Let me show you the real trap. You think visibility is about self-promotion, about being loud, about taking credit you didn't earn. And because that feels wrong, you avoid it. But visibility isn't self-promotion. It's strategic communication. It's making sure the people who decide your future know what you're reworking on before it has finished. Know what problems you're solving before they're solved. Know your name before they need to fill a role. You're confusing integrity with invisibility, and invisibility doesn't protect you. It erases you. Now think about the last time you volunteered to present your work. Not had to. Chose to. When was it? Because if you can't remember, you've been letting other people narrate your contributions, and their narration doesn't center you. It centers them. They're not lying. They're just framing the story in a way that makes them look good. And you let them. because you were too busy doing the next thing to stop and make sure the last thing was attributed correctly. You keep producing. They keep narrating. And narration is what leadership remembers. Now ask yourself, if you disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take for leadership to notice? Because the answer tells you everything about your position. 22 months in the same role. You've asked about advancement, twice. Both times you got the same answer. You're doing great. We just need to see more strategic thinking. And you didn't know what that meant, so you kept working. Kept delivering. Kept assuming that results would eventually translate. But strategic thinking isn't about better results. It's about visible alignment with leadership priorities. It's about speaking their language in front of them. And you can't do that from your desk. We need to see more means we don't see you enough, and you can't fix that with better work. Now look at who just got hired at the level you want. Did they come from a company where they produced the most? No. They came from a place where they were known, where their name came up in conversations, where they had sponsors. Sponsors they earned not by working harder, but by being strategically visible, by building relationships with people who could advocate, by making sure those people knew what they were capable of before a role opened. You're trying to earn it through output. They earned it through optics, and optics decides who gets the offer. There's a cost you haven't calculated. Every month you stay invisible is a month someone else is building the relationships that generate opportunities, and those relationships compound. Because people who know you recommend you. People who don't know you don't think of you. And not being thought of is the same as not existing. You could be the best at what you do, but if nobody with power knows that, you're functionally mediocre. Your skills are only as valuable as the number of decision makers who know you have them. Here's the truth you're avoiding. You're invisible by choice. Not because you lack the ability to be visible, but because being visible requires stopping productive work to do unproductive work, to attend meetings that don't generate output, to send updates nobody asked for, to have conversations that don't solve immediate problems, and all of that feels like wasted time. Like politics, like playing the game. And you don't want to play the game, but the game is the only way up. And refusing to play doesn't make you noble, it makes you stuck. Let me show you what happens next if nothing changes. You'll keep delivering. You'll keep being excellent in the dark. And in 2 years, you'll train someone who just got hired above you, and they'll ask you questions. And you'll answer them. And they'll take your answers into rooms you've never been in, and they'll present them as insights. And they'll get promoted again, and you'll still be at your desk, wondering why excellence isn't enough. Because excellence without visibility isn't excellence. It's just invisible labor. You're not stuck because you're not good enough. You're stuck because the people deciding your future don't know you exist. And the worst part is the system rewards this. It rewards people who know how to be seen over people who know how to produce. And it will never change. Until you realize that working in silence is the same as not working at all. In the next video, I'm going to show you the exact moments in your week where visibility is built or destroyed. Because once you see them, you can't ignore them anymore.